I kept going. I kept moving forward, lost into the wild, in the darkness of the night, where every step is a dance with the unknown. I kept going anyway. Not because I wanted to, but because I needed to know what it felt like to not give up on myself. I look around the room while I prepare my gear for the last time. In a few days, I will embark on the greatest journey of my life yet. Hiking the Pacific Crest Trail. A path that stretches from Mexico to Canada through the scorching deserts of California, the snowy mountains of the Sierra Nevada, and the lush forests of the Pacific Northwest. Many would start at the southern terminus, but only a few would make it all the way to Canada. I wanted to be one of them. Something about the mind-boggling idea of walking 2,650 miles had lit a fire inside me, which never stopped. Growing up, all I wanted to do was to be a football player. But nothing in life ever happens according to the plan. My short career now behind me, I was searching for a new direction, a new purpose. I wanted to prove myself that I was capable of doing something uncommon that would force me to go beyond my limits. I needed a new goal, a new challenge, a big adventure so that I could look back on my life with no regrets. And as I stood in front of that monument, I knew that my only purpose and direction right now was to walk north. In the beginning, everything was new, everything was beautiful. Life on the trail was simple. I followed the routine of eat, walk, sleep, repeat, while navigating through Southern California, the land of the first. The first camp, the first sunrise, the first friend, the first views, the first trail magic.
My trail name is Bad Santa, and I help hikers out here because I was helped out when I hiked in 2016, and so I'm just giving back to the hikers what I got back then.
Leaving the border wall behind, I reached Julian, the first town on the PCT. The opportunity for me to resupply food, do laundry, and hang out with fellow thru-hikers. Friendships here work differently. From complete strangers to best friends in the span of one day, everybody comes from different places and backgrounds, but everybody has the same goal in mind, to make it to Canada. Back on the trail, I continued my journey north. The desert continued proving not to be one as rain and strong winds welcomed us the next morning. Like a free electron, I attached myself to other group of people, eager to learn more about those who were as crazy as me to go on such adventure. In the distance, San Jacinto rose above the horizon with its snowy head. This would be my first challenge. In Idlewild, everybody's priority was to get information on the current snow conditions.
Apache is fine, especially if you take the saddle across Apache instead of the trail. And then from Apache to the saddle junction don't do it. The trail comes up here and then went down there. This is very steep. If you sleep here, you're done.
Sounds kind of fun, actually.
That's for sure.
Apache Peak, Fuller Ridge. In most years, you wouldn't hear about these names, but in an unprecedented snow year like this one, they haunted the minds of every hiker. Tomorrow, I would go climb the San Jacinto Mountains. But before that, I enjoyed a little visit from the mayor, who had come out to give us some motivation.
This is Sister Vice Mayor Meadow. We're pleased to meet you.
Oh, that's so sweet. Wait, which one is the mayor?
On the left.
Armed with our ice axe and our crampons, we started the long ascent towards San Jacinto. Personally, I wanted to go up there and see for myself. I didn't want to bail on my first test.
One of you two snored last night.
The wind was strong, moving the clouds above us at a fast speed. I wondered if it was the mountain's way of telling us it didn't want us here. Slowly, we carefully progressed through steep traverses and big blowdowns. Little by little, we got used to living on snow, like setting up our tent for the first time on the frozen ground. And soon enough, we made our way to the top. After reaching San Jacinto Peak, it was time for us to go back down, back to the desert floor.
$30. That's
Oh wait, someone else 2 days before says, I second the stay at Nitsy's, shower, laundry, food, bed, hiker box, rise to town.
Wow.
Come on, let's do that.
Yeah,
Just for one night.
And so we did. Just like life on the trail, coming into town had its own routine. Catching a ride, resupplying, laundry, back on the trail. Stronger from my experience in San Jacinto, I continued my journey through Southern California. Thanks to the unconditional support from the Trail Ranger community, I navigated through the different challenges that the trail put on my path. A path that would soon lead me to a last test before entering the Sierra. In the heart of Southern California, where the sun paints the landscape with hues of gold and amber, lies a vast expanse that tests the spirit of those who dare to traverse its arid embrace. The Mojave Desert. After waiting out the afternoon heat, we headed towards the infamous LA Aqueduct, a system of pipes, canals and tunnels designed to bring water from the Sierra Nevadas to support cities like Los Angeles. It was a glimpse into the interplay between nature and human intervention. Our footsteps resonated against the hard ground, echoing in the quietude of the desert, whose harshness softened under the palette of the sunset, and as we wandered into the night. The next morning, another world awoke in front of our eyes. Surrounded by thousands of windmills, we began our journey across the Mojave, where the sun would become a relentless antagonist in a play of endurance. Joshua trees and windmills stood sentinel, their silhouette punctuating the horizon. Over 100 miles of mostly exposed trail waited for us. Every step was a defiance against the harsh grip of the desert. Long, waterless stretches defined the section which forced us to rely on precious water caches. Under the relentless gaze of the sun, the very earth seemed to radiate heat in waves. As we traversed the arid expanse, the air became a furnace, every breath a gasp drawn amidst the whispers of elusive winds. All life in this land was perfectly adapted to this environment, except us. Thunderstorms broke unexpectedly in the afternoon, giving us some relief from the heat. Sunsets became breathtaking spectacles, casting a warm glow across the landscape. As we moved up north, we left the desert floor behind us and headed towards our next challenge, our biggest yet, the Sierra Nevada. Over the previous winter, California had seen its biggest snowpack yet, perhaps the deepest recorded in more than 70 years. Attempting to go through the Sierra Nevada meant spending a whole month in harsh and cold conditions, climbing over snow-covered passes with the use of crampons and ice axe, weathering daily unpredictable storms at high altitude, carrying 50-pound backpacks full of supplies to survive for 7, sometimes even 10 days without seeing any sign of civilization. To put all the chances on our side, Beer Slide, Shortcut, Twigs, Buddy, and I decided to team up in the hope of making it through safely. Preparation was key. We spent a couple days in Kennedy Meadows North and took that opportunity to study maps, establish a plan, gear up for the snow, and enjoy some downtime with other hikers.
32 degrees, that makes sense.
Soon, it was time to go dance with the unknown. About 5,000 feet of elevation gain in 20 miles was waiting for us. The landscape around the trail was slowly changing. Joshua trees, yuccas, cactus, and other plants from the Mojave Desert gave way to forests of oaks, cottonwood, willows, and shrubs. The weather too was changing, but not slowly. On our first day, the Sierra showcased the power of its unpredictable weather system, giving us a warning about what was to come. For the following days, we progressed slowly, hiking mostly through the night while the snow was still frozen hard. Awkwardly descending steep slopes in the morning, waiting for storms to pass in our tent in the afternoon, and getting closer and closer to our first real test, the highest point on the PCT, Forester Pass. In the middle of the freezing night, we wake up and start getting ready. Leaving our tree-covered campsite, we soon find ourselves hiking into complete darkness. At above 12,000 feet, trees cannot grow here, and anything else is covered by a thick blanket of snow. We advance through this infinite nothingness, alone, in a no man's land. The sun slowly rises, unveiling the giant peaks surrounding us. As we move up in altitude, breathing becomes harder. Carefully, we approach every obstacle. Until finally, as the sun rises above the horizon, we reach the top of Forester Pass. The gateway to the High Sierra, a marvel of this world, protected from the outsider by the harshness of its environment, a marvel that only a few of us would get to witness in such a unique way. Back in civilization, we reminisced about our recent experience.
I'm here for the free stuff.
Everybody's forester stories, like we're trying to make it a forester and then we fucking died in a blizzard. We're like, oh, we kind of did 4 miles and then played Dungeons and Dragons.
For the day.
But only had we arrived in town and got time to resupply that we were already on our way back to the trail. Time was running out and we had to get out of the Sierra before the rivers became uncrossable. Ahead, above the snowy peaks, the sky darkened with clouds. A storm was brewing. The next morning, we started our traverse of the High Sierra, one of the most difficult sections of the trail, including 3 passes over 11,000 feet. At such high altitude, we were at the mercy of the weather, and it was unpredictable. The ground, soft and unstable, with the constant threat of post-holing, was weighing on us. The climb over a pass and the descent afterward were vertiginous. The consequences of a fall could be severe, or worse, deadly. We continued our progress, hitting milestones along the way. Fighting with the elements, miles away from any help or even civilization, where every step was a dance with the unknown. There was no turning back. As we escaped the clouds of the High Sierra unscattered, we enjoyed a short moment of relief before attempting our last trial. Their deafening roar broke the silence of the forest, giving us an idea of their destructive power. We were now in their territory. Rivers. The dense Sierra Nevada snowpack had now started to melt, unleashing torrents of water. Until now, we had been able to cross most of them on snow bridges. But in the middle of June, they had disappeared, forcing us to go off-trail for miles before finding a safe path to cross in the water. We consider ourselves lucky if we found a log to go across, even though the effort required to stay balanced was probably as nerve-wracking. One misstep and your dream hike would suddenly turn into a nightmare, probably your last. The rivers now behind us, we approached the end of the Sierra. The mountains around us were changing. While I reflected on what we had just done, I wondered where this path would lead me next. Standing in front of that road sign after a month spent in the snow was a sigh of relief. We were out of the Sierra. In Kennedy Meadows North, it was time to say goodbye to each other. Our goal as a team had been fulfilled. Everybody had made it through the Sierra safely. Now, we would each go on our own way until the end. After getting some well-needed rest, it was time for me to hit the road again. Time was running out. If I wanted to beat the early winter storms in Washington, I needed to make up for the time lost in the Sierra. Alone in this privileged and voluntary homelessness, I moved quickly through the rolling hills of NorCal. And soon enough, I reached my next stop, the small town of Sierra City. For the first time in a while, I looked at myself in the mirror, contemplating a face scarred by 3 months of hiking.
Well, I've never been to Spain.
Driven by Rob's melody, the owner of the hotel I stayed in, and one of those encounters that you don't forget. I left Sierra City, rested and ready to get done with California.
And they sure know how to use it. They don't abuse.
Days became longer. Hiking from sunrise to sundown, I tried to cover as many miles as possible per day.
Well, I never been to England.
I made my way through Northern California, mostly alone, patching myself to small groups here and there, but never permanently. I like being alone, and somehow I wasn't ready to be part of a group again.
That's California. Can you feel it? Must be real, yeah. Feels so good. Yeah, it feels so good. Well, I never been.
As a heat wave struck the state of California, hiking during the day became unbearably hot. Every means possible was used to get a little bit of freshness.
But I really don't remember. In Oklahoma, not Arizona. What does it matter? What does it matter?
Day after day, I admired the wonders of Northern California, including Bernie Falls, a 129-foot waterfall that cascaded down a moss-covered cliff face, and whose freshness provided some relief from the heat.
Never been to Spain, but I kinda like.
After hitting the halfway point of the trail, I was now completely used to this new lifestyle. One that suppressed all distraction and superficiality, and that brought you back to the essentials of living.
Never gonna lose it. I can't refuse it.
After 3 months of walking through desert and snow, I could finally see the end of California. I enjoyed the last few days in a state that was close to my heart. Over on the horizon, signs of wildfires nearby could be seen. Finally, on August 4, I entered the state of Oregon. After leaving the iconic Crater Lake, the trail weaved through volcanic landscape and green forests. Sunlight filtered through the dense foliage, casting a gentle glow on the forest floor and the deers who lived in it. Oregon was relatively gentle, allowing for a more relaxed pace. Not to mention the generosity of people who went out of their way to make our journey an unforgettable one.
My name is Ducky's dad, and our son Ducky hiked the trail in 2016. And when he got near California-Oregon border, he called us up and said, "Mom and Dad, you guys need to be trail angels." And we kind of look at each other like, what is that? And he said, "Oh, you just feed them hot dogs and chips and drinks." And we go, "They would like that?" He goes, "Oh yeah." So we started out doing that, and we've added fruit and a few other things, and it has been the most fun. I would much rather spend the money on food for the hikers than a Taylor Swift concert ticket. So.
In the middle of Oregon, a once vibrant tapestry of green now stood as a desolate theater of devastation, bearing the scars of flames that danced with grace and destruction. The entire scene felt like a post-apocalyptic movie. A testament to nature's delicate balance. When they say that the trail provides, people like to think only of the good and the happy side of it. But the truth is that the trail also provides pain, suffering, and self-introspection. Through hiking isn't always sunshine and rainbows. It's the true definition of what an adventure is. A medley of beauty and ugliness. A dance with joy and despair. A contrast between light and darkness. The thing is, this contrast is necessary. Without bad days, one cannot appreciate the good ones. If they didn't exist, the adventure that we were looking for would just become a bland and monotonous routine which, although seemingly comfortable because of its lack of uncertainty, was a slow and invisible killer of life. To live is to accept the lows as much as the highs. It's to be adaptable in the face of challenges and willing to take your body and mind to places you didn't want to, but knew you needed to. It's how growth happens. I was hurt, physically and mentally. Every step felt like somebody was stabbing my shin. Time was moving slowly, just like me. I stumbled upon a little piece of pink paper. It had been given to me by a southbound hiker at the start of Oregon. On it was a word of encouragement he asked one of his young students to write. And as I read it, emotions overwhelmed me. Gentle words coming from the pure and innocent kindness of a kid completely unknown to me. A kid motivated by only one wish, to provide a little bit of courage to a total stranger. In these moments, when my body didn't want to do it anymore, when my brain tried to tell me to stop, I remember my why. I remember the reason I was doing this. To prove myself that I could endure those kind of hardships. To prove that I could be the best version of myself when feeling at my worst. On a gloomy Monday morning, while people dressed themselves to go to work, I entered Washington, the last state on the PCT. I was excited to explore Washington. It would bring me back to the mountains, hiking over high passes and offering unforgettable views. The last state on the PCT had the reputation of being hard, with long and steep climbs through blowdowns and overgrowth that made the Sierra look easy. Washington also had another reputation: rain, and it lived up to it. For the first 5 days after entering Washington, it rained every single one. Hiking through shrubs soaked in water felt like walking into a car wash. The landscape around me faded and disappeared into the whiteness of the mist, giving me the impression of looking at a painting that had yet to be finished. After 4 days of rain and not being able to see anything, the hiking gods finally offered me some relief. Mount Adams, standing just in front of my eyes, right where I couldn't see anything the day before. whole horizon had cleared out, and Washington unveiled its beauty to me. Words were hard to find to describe the beauty of Washington with the fairness it deserved. Similar to the Sierra, Washington made you feel small by showing the full extent of nature's unpredictable power. The wind, so strong at times, seemed to move the sky, with clouds of different shapes and sizes swirling majestically in the air as if they were dancing in the valse. I started spending time with other people again, without overstepping my need for independence. As I came near the end of this journey, I was happy to have people around me to share those moments with. As I moved closer to thruhike, the last town on the PCT, I looked around and took in the moment. The wind brushing the leaves, the clouds moving in slow motion in the sky. I felt present and lucky to be here, to be able to enjoy all my senses, and to do it to the fullest. Because that's what living is about. Leaving Hart's Pass, the last road on the PCT, I begin the final stretch of this grand adventure. As I walk and look around, a sense of melancholy seizes me. I know that there, behind those mountains, is Canada, the end of my journey. Unlike California, the state of Washington was all about the last sunset, the last meal around the last campfire. The last night under the stars. The last early morning start. The last views. I tried to make everything last a little bit longer. In vain. Part of the journey is the end. And as I make my last steps toward it, memories come flashing by. Memories of people, of moments, forever etched in my mind. All of a sudden, down the trail, I can hear laughters, screams of joy, getting closer and closer. Suddenly, just around the corner, it's there. Over the past 5 months, I walked from sunrise to sundown, alone and surrounded. I fell, I laughed, I cried, I dreamed, I suffered, but most importantly, I did what I set out to do. I lived.
Well, I was walking down the road just the other day. I met an young boy passing my way. I said, look here, man, why you acting so blue? He said, if your best girl had left you, you would act this way too. Then he said, ooh-wee, ooh-ah-eh, don't look like another happy day without her. Ooh-wee, ooh-ah-eh, don't look like another happy day. I said, look here, blood brother, don't you feel so bad? My best girl left me too, and I feel kind of sad. Maybe if you sing that tune one more time, maybe it'll ease both of our minds. We both said, ooh-wee, ooh-ah-eh, don't look like another happy day without her. Ooh-wee, ooh-ah-eh, don't look like another happy day. And the sun was going down and far away, I could still see his footsteps where they lay, over the hills and far away. I remember his echo, and this is what he said. He said,